Hi guys, so I'm filming in a little bit different of a location than normal. I figured it was about time to do my monthly wrap-up, and I've actually read quite a bit this month. I was doing a weekly wrap-up for a bit there, but I figured it only amounted to a few books a week, so I might as well just do a monthly wrap-up again. So here I am. I got through 7 books out of my goal on Goodreads for 150 books this year, and 2 of them were review books, make that 3, and only one of these 11 books was a DNF, which was Heartless by Marissa Meyer actually, which I'll get to in just a minute. The books that I finished this month though were The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket, A Series of Unfortunate Events #1, and The Reptile Room, A Series of Unfortunate Events #2. I didn't go any further in that series because my only goal was really to read the first 4 books that I watched the show. I got to watching the show with my mom actually, and my mom has never read the books, so I figured I would just, when we were watching 2 episodes a day, I would have had to read a book a day. I just kind of fell off because I don't know what it is, but to me, like, even though I like the story, there's something off-putting about Lemony Snicket's writing style, or Daniel Handler rather, that I just wasn't all that into it, even though I like the premise and the plot. I don't know what exactly, but something just puts me off. So the furthest I ever got when I was a kid was like number 4 or 5, and I just couldn't even get that far this time. So those first 2 books though, they both, I think the first one I gave like 3.5, the second one got 3, or maybe the other way around, one of the 2. The next book I read was Spirit Hunters by Ellen Oh, and it is a middle grade book that is actually going to be coming out later this year in July, so I don't want to say too much about it, but it's about a girl who is in middle school. Her name is Harper Rain, and her family move into a new house, and a bunch of unexplainable things start happening, and the house is haunted. Harper does believe this because she can speak to ghosts, but something happens to her younger brother that makes her think that the spirits in the house are not friendly, and she needs the help of someone older and more experienced with herself with ghosts, more experienced than herself with ghosts, to help her take care of the problem. And it's actually really good. She is, I think, half Korean, I want to say, and it's a very diverse middle grade book. I enjoyed it. I feel like I would have enjoyed it more when I was younger. It still wouldn't be something that I found super memorable. It's #1, I think, in a series, I want to say, so I'd recommend it to actual children, not as much to adults. I also read Just One Damn Thing After Another, St. Mary's Chronicles, book #1. It's a time travel series for it's like a new adult / adult time travel series. I wasn't a super large fan, which is very odd because I love time travel, and the overall Goodreads rating is like 3.96 stars, and there's almost 9,000 ratings, so it's not like a small, margin of error right there. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't connect with the characters, and I felt like they were kind of Mary Sue, not really fleshed out as well as they could have been, in favor of like doing plot gymnastics, and I didn't think that the way the plot was resolved was all that great / realistic / I didn't care. So, not going to be continuing with that series, which bums me out because there's like 7 books, I think, 6 or 7 books, plus all the novellas, and there's a lot of novellas. So, and I love time travel, so I'm kind of bummed. The next book that I finished was Search for Sana, Everworld #1. So this is #3, but this is the series that was on my TBR, the Everworld series. I had the first 5 books on there, and I was going to read them all this month. I've read the first 2, Search for Sana and Land of Loss, which is #2. The first one is from David's perspective, the second one is from Christopher's, and I enjoyed them, not as much as I did when I was a teenager. I don't know if I would really recommend them to adults per se, it's more of a nostalgia thing for me. I do think that the plot holds up fairly well. It's just, I don't think that unless you want to read a serialized novel that you're really going to get much out of it, because that's basically what it is. Back in the 90s, I gotta stop saying slash. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, the popular thing was to write a teen series, but to write, like, instead of 3 or 4 books, 12, between like 10 and 12 small books or something like that, that told the entire story. So like, you would read the first book and it would end on a complete cliffhanger, and it would maybe introduce you to the characters, but it wouldn't completely flesh them out. So like, you could end up reading, as with Everworld series, 12 books, and before you would get the entire story. And sometimes even then you wouldn't get the entire story because the publishing house might cancel it before they were finished, as what happened, I believe, with Everworld, because the ending to that is very vague and not at all an ending, and it still pisses me off. Like, I'm still wondering where that last book is. You hear me, K.A. Applegate? You need to get your publishing house to let you do a 13th Everworld book. So I left them with the ratings they had, which was 4 stars, but really it was 3 stars for the first one and 3.5 for the second one. So just between the first 2 books so far, we've got Vikings and Norse gods, Aztecs and their gods, a couple different alien races, and we've had mention of some Egyptian gods, but no action. And we also just met Merlin at the end of the second book, and Sir Galahad, one of the Arthurian knights as well. So I guess I know that there's a crap ton of mythologies in these books, so I guess we'll just see what happens next. But I know the third book deals a lot with Merlin and Galahad, and so do the next 2. So like, that's the prevalent mythology in 3 through 5. I'm not sure what exactly else is going to be crammed in there, but I guess we'll find out. I do say, though, that it's interesting to see all the intersections of mythology and culture if you're into that kind of thing. Even though that these are supposed to be kids or teen books, they're actually very well constructed in the fact that you believe that Everworld is actually a possibility. I enjoy them personally. And my other books, 2 of them were Pride and Prejudice variations. In case you're interested, the titles were The Mistress of Longbourn by Jan Rowland and Mr. Darcy's Mail Order Bride by J. Dawn King. I wasn't overly impressed with either one of them. I gave them each 3 stars just because they managed to make me read them further through at first, and then I downgraded Mr. Darcy's Mail Order Bride, which is like an American Western reversion of Pride and Prejudice, to 2 stars because of the really awful inserted slang and like the really, I don't know, it wasn't necessarily saccharine, but like the really uncharacteristic way that the author had Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth talking to themselves and everyone else. I just could not stand it. Like that, for some reason I still managed to read all the way through the entire book, but I just did not like the way they talked to each other and the way they talked to everyone else. It just rang so false, it was unbelievable. The other 2 books that I read were review books. One of them was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee, and I have mixed feelings on this book because while it's kind of a rarity in and of itself, it's a debut novel, but it also is the tale of the late 1700s, these 2 friends, Henry Montague and Percy, what's his name? I don't know what his last name is, but they were best friends. They both have hidden feelings for each other, so it's a male-male relationship in the late 1700s in England, and they're both going on the grand tour together, and they get into a mishap with a bunch of pirates and a bunch of other stuff. Honestly, though, there was way too much romantic angst for someone like me. I just didn't really care for it, and it felt like every other page they were confessing that they liked each other and then being a complete asshole to each other and destroying whatever ground they might have gained, plus hurting their friendship, and I didn't really care for that. I feel like it just was really annoying to me. It was used repeatedly as a plot device, And then this whole thing with like the heart that can cure anything, and Percy having an issue that he needed cured, and him being pissed at Henry for even thinking that he wants him to be cured, like, you should love me no matter what, and them wanting to run off together and then not wanting to run off. It was like it didn't know how to resolve itself, and she was trying to be true to the time period, which I appreciate, but at the same time I was not a huge fan of it. I gave it 3 out of 5. That's just for personal reasons, more so of me not clicking with the book itself and the content, versus me thinking it was badly written or that it didn't actually gel with the time period, which it for the most part it did. And I liked a lot of the historical footnotes in the back that she left, like the afterwards. And it was a good debut, it was solid, but I did not personally care for it. And the ending, I don't think so. Like, that wouldn't have happened, or if it did, I just felt like it was just, I don't think they would have been in a place to have that ending together after the way they treated each other throughout the entire book, but that's just my personal opinion. And then the last one was Midnight at the Electric by Jodi Lynn Anderson. Most of you guys, if you read a book by Jodi Lynn, it's probably Tiger Lily, which is the retelling of Peter Pan. This is a multi-generational tale spanning first from England in 1919 to Oklahoma in 1934, and then Kansas in 2065, and it mainly is about a girl named Adri, or Audrey, I'm not sure how she pronounces it, who is trying to figure out a mystery having to do with these letters at this farmhouse that she's staying at while waiting to become a colonist on Mars. And she's living with this older lady named Lily, who was a family member that she didn't know existed after being in an orphanage her whole life. And she finds a postcard in one of the old books, or near the bookcase, that has to do with this Galapagos turtle named Galapagos that lives on the farm, that was brought there like over 100 years prior, and honestly doesn't know what to think, and asks Lily about it and finds out that there's a whole mystery having to do with the prior occupants of the house and what happened to them. So she tries to uncover that, and we find out Lenore's story in 1919, right after World War I, and we also find out a good chunk of Catherine's story in 1934 during the Dust Bowl. And I feel like the title was kind of misleading. It doesn't really have much to do with the Electric, which is an exhibit at the Rag Bag Fair, which is kind of like a carnival, I think, like a traveling carnival. And I felt like that was kind of misleading. I felt like it tried to be a novel that really had some depth to it. It was very short. I don't feel like that stops a book, though, if it has the content to get away with it. But I didn't feel like it really succeeded. Like, it was all just kind of too superficial, I'm teaching you a lesson kind of stuff. I just wasn't really a fan. It's still not up there for me with Tuck Everlasting, which is kind of like the feel and overall type of book that I would classify it as. It's like, it's trying to teach you that overall life lesson, and it just kind of fails. I wasn't really a huge fan of it. I think I gave it a 3-star. I did enjoy it. I did make it to the end, but I did feel like it wasn't, it wasn't anything that I haven't read before, and that was kind of disappointing to me, as I was expecting better. It does have a gorgeous cover, though, if they keep the cover that it has. And as for Friday reads, this weekend, it's kind of overambitious, but I really want to get through Book 3, Enter the Enchanted, Book 4, Realm of the Reaper, and Book 5, Discover the Destroyer. And then if I get through those, I've been thinking that I might start The X-Files, Devil's Advocate by Jonathan Maberry. And then I'm waiting on The Agent of Chaos, which is Mulder's story from the library, and that's by Cami Garcia. This is by Jonathan Maberry, and it's Scully's story, and they're both like about the X-Files duo as teenagers and what leads them to become the characters that they are at the start of the show. And I've watched like 2 episodes of X-Files. I'm thinking maybe this will be my gateway. I'm not a huge sci-fi person. I'm more of a fantasy person, but I guess we'll see. But I was able to get a hold of this from the library, which was amazing because it's brand new and I didn't want to buy it if I'm not really that into it, you know, and which I'm not knowing if I'm going to be or not. So that was my monthly wrap-up and my Friday reads. I hope you guys enjoyed it.